Yo, what's up, guys? So let me ask you a question. Have you ever learned a cool trick and you were so excited about it because maybe there was a clever technique that was completely new to you, and you were so excited that you immediately went out and performed it? However, it didn't quite get the reactions that you were hoping for? Well, truth be told, we've all been there. I've been there. And the reason why this happens is because when we learn a trick, we learn it at face value. We learn to control the card, do the move, and reveal the card. But there's just so much more to it than that. To get the best reactions, you have to put more work into it. And you really have to think to yourself, how can I make this trick the best that it can be? So in this video, I'm going to give you 7 tips that I think can really elevate any trick that you do and get those strong reactions that you are hoping for. So just as an example, we're going to take a look at just a simple sandwich trick and look at the ways we can really elevate it to just a really magical experience that the audience will never forget and get those strong reactions that we all want and deserve. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's take a look at a simple sandwich trick that we have all learned, just at face value. We learn a couple moves to make it happen, and we learn that's the sandwich trick that we do, alright? So, it looks like this. Alright, so maybe we take out the 2 black aces to use for this trick, and so we'll just go through and take out the 2 black aces like so, and they'll just sit there for a moment. Now I need you to pick any card you want in the deck. Maybe that one is fine. It doesn't matter if I see it, it's the 4 of diamonds, alright? So what we'll do is we'll just bury that 4 of diamonds somewhere back in the middle of the deck, just like this, alright? So we can mix it up just like this so the card is lost in the deck, alright? So what we'll do is we'll take these aces out, we'll use them sort of like a magic wand, alright? So if I just wave them over like this, I can get one card in between, not just any card, it's your card, the 4 of diamonds. So as a magician, you might be thinking to yourself, well, there's nothing wrong with that trick. It's a pretty cool sandwich trick, and I would agree. But to a layman, to a real participant, to a real audience who has never seen magic before, what is the effect to them? What is the overall trick that's going on? Are you why are you using the aces? Are the aces somehow locating the card? Why are the aces involved? And maybe it's a puzzle. How did my card get in between the aces? So you really have to ask yourself, what is the effect as a whole? So to answer that, you might say something like, well, it's an impossible location of a card that, the card that they just picked and was lost in the deck appears in between, it appears in between the aces. All right, so if that's the effect that you want to create, I think here are some tips for you to make that effect as strong as it can truly be. All right, so the first one, apart from just thinking about the effect, is the hook. So here's a great hook that you can use, alright? So ask yourself, why are you taking out 2 cards just to find a card? It really makes no sense, alright? So you have to sort of find an interesting hook around that premise, alright? So what if you did this? What if you explained to the participant that in the deck there's 2 jacks that actually have, see this jack of clubs, you can see 2 eyes, but there's 2 one-eyed jacks in the deck. I'll take them out right now. It's actually the jack of hearts and the jack of spades, alright? So the jack of diamonds, you can see both of his eyes, but the jack of hearts here, you can see one of his eyes, right? So that's why they're called the one-eyed jacks, and so we take them out, just like this. Now check this out. These 2 jacks can always find any card in the deck, no matter how much it's lost in there, right? So the reason why they can do that is because they see everything that goes on. He looks this way, he looks that way. So no matter what happens in the deck, they always see what's going on. So already, just by mentioning the fact that there's 2 one-eyed jacks in the deck, it's pretty interesting, alright? So they've probably never heard of that before. And the fact that these 2 cards can always find cards no matter how much is lost back in the deck is it makes them curious about what's about to happen, alright? So it also justifies taking out 2 cards that you'll need for the sandwich trick, alright? So what you do is you place these aside, face up just like this, and now we come to the second tip, which is really choosing the best technique for the effect. So in that little demo, what I did was just a simple double undercut control. But think about what this implies to the person, right? So they pick a card, especially if you did this. This is called degrees of freedom, all right? So most of the time you stress the fact that they can take any card, right? Any card at all, totally fine. Take out any card. But then when you control it, it's usually like the degrees of freedom are different, all right? So what I mean by that is if you just use a double under control like I did, I put it back right here, and yeah, just right there, put it back right there. You're stressing the fact that they have to put it somewhere specific. And so if they could take it out anywhere from that, their freedom of choice, the freedom of choice and the freedom of replacement has to sort of match, right? So it makes no sense than to do a double undercut control like this, because not only is that control bad for this effect, but there is cost to it, right? So if I did this, say, look, we'll just cut that into the deck somewhere. It's kind of obvious what's happening. That the double undercut could mean that I'm trying to place cards somewhere, and they can, spectators are smart. They'll know that their card has been controlled somewhere. So in order to create this effect that we want, no matter how much the deck is shuffled, blah, 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 a double undercut won't work for this effect, all right? So we have to find a different one, a different technique that will work for this effect. And I personally think that this control is good for this effect, all right? It's called the dribble toss control by Steve Bedwell, all right? So it looks like this. So you say to them, look, go and shuffle the deck as much as you want to. And it's always a good idea to have them shuffle the deck, even when it's not, when it's not necessary for the trick, all right? When it doesn't matter, have them give the deck a shuffle, because then they'll remember back to when they shuffle the deck. Even to you, it's unimportant for what's going on, all right? So as much as they can shuffle and handle the deck, the better the trick will be, all right? So this is the dribble toss control I was talking about. All right, so what you do is you dribble the deck, and by the way, whenever you're working with laymen, don't say technical terms like dribble. All right, so instead, what you want to do is, this is a good idea. Look, I'll just drop cards like this, and as they fall, just to make it as random as possible, just say stop anytime. All right, so they do that. Stop anytime, and you show them the card they stopped on, all right? So show them this card. Now you're going to appear to throw it into the deck like this, but what really happens is that you execute sort of the Rabbit of Vanish move. We've all seen it, where you take a card like this and seemingly make it vanish under your hand, but really just pulling the card right back, so nothing is going under your hand, all right? So that's the same exact movement for this effect, all right? So, or for this control. All right, so you dribble the cards, they say stop, show them the card. Now appear to throw it into the dribble like this, but really, when your hand is in the dribble, just pull it straight back like this, and then dribble the rest back on top. So at fast motion, it looks very convincing, all right? So the 7 of spades, or whatever, we'll just use a new card, all right? So they take a look at the card. All right, this 8 of diamonds. It gets tossed back somewhere in the middle of the deck. And look how convincing and fair that looks. It really seems like you just tossed it back somewhere in the deck, and there's no way you can keep control of it, especially when you have them square the deck like this. Go ahead and square the deck just like that for me, all right? So your card is somewhere down into the deck. Again, slow motion, it looks like this is fully exposed. Slow it down. Take a look at the card, 8 of hearts. We'll just lose it back somewhere in the deck like this. And lost somewhere back in the middle of the deck, and we'll just have them square the cards up like this. Go ahead and square the cards up like this. Now, there is no way they're going to think that the card is on top. Even magicians who has never seen this control before, this is convincing to them too, all right? So at full speed, looks like this again. We use the 8 of diamonds, all the 8s, all right? So we'll toss it back somewhere in the middle of the deck, right around there, all right? So that's always a good touch, too, because sometimes the card will jut out, and it might look like their card, like their retention division. So just go, that's a good, nice touch, too, just to sort of, tap it in a little bit, as if it's their card, all right? So, yeah, go ahead and push it in. So there is no way, in their mind, that the card could be on top of the deck, all right? So that's what you want to imply, that it's really lost somewhere in the deck. Something that obviously a double undercut cannot achieve, all right? So here we go. All right, so we've covered the effect as a whole, the impossible location of the card with the one-eyed jacks, which is also the hook. The hook is the one-eyed jacks. No matter how lost the card is, they can always find the card, all right? So we've talked about technique matters, all right? So picking the best technique for the effect. All right, so the fourth tip that I have for you is making them care about what's going on, all right? So earlier I took out the aces to find the card, all right? So and then their card was in between the aces. But who cares about that, right? So there's no real emotional investment in the aces finding their card, all right? So you can justify it by these are a magic wand, but who cares about that either, all right? So by saying all the stuff about the one-eyed jacks being able to find the card, blah, 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 and then no matter how much the card is lost back in the deck, they can always find the card. So there is so much emotional investment in the one-eyed jacks finding the card, especially when you're building all this tension with the impossible control of the card. Because the suspense and the tension is just rising dramatically at this point, all right? So they've just seen their card get lost back into the deck, and then you're talking about the one-eyed jacks being able to find the card. So they're the hook, and then the impossible control of the card. They're thinking to themselves now, how can he find the card now? I mean, they have one eye. How is that going to help him find the card? Because the card totally lost, all right? So now we need to further dramatize these conditions, and here's how. So, dramatizing conditions, what is this all about? So they've just seen their card get tossed back in the middle of the deck. It was the Eight of Diamonds, right? So now look, you know, I don't know exactly where your card is. You know, it could be somewhere between the top and the bottom card. I really have no idea. But the jacks, you remember, they see everything. They saw your card go in, so they might know where your card is right now. And so just to dramatize these conditions, it makes no sense to the trick, but it's a playful thing. So like, just so they can't see anything else that goes on, let's turn them face down so now they're blind. Now what you're going to do is dramatize these conditions by further mixing the deck. And what this is going to do is add conviction to the fact that the card is lost, all right? So that's the other tip is conviction, all right? Conviction is always key to your effects, right? So they have to be totally convinced, 100% convinced that that card is totally lost in the deck, all right? So if they might think that it might be on top or the bottom, or if they think you might know where it is, the effect is lost, all right? So it's only going to be a magic trick if they know for sure that that card is lost, all right? So here's what you do after you turn those face down. You just do the Rosetta Shuffle. So this is sort of a controlled Rosetta Shuffle, and you sort of have them do a fall shuffle for you. Not really a fall shuffle, but a top card retention shuffle, all right? So then they do it all themselves, all right? So what we do is this. Since the top card is their card, what you're going to do is lift off about 2/3 of the deck, you know, more than half the deck, and then say, look, I don't want them to see any cards at all, so I don't want them to know where the card is, you know. They like a good challenge, or whatever you want to say, right? Now, all you do is this, you apply pressure down on the packets with your fingers like this, and start spinning them around, and that pressure will result in these Rosetta shapes just like this. Now, since this packet is bigger than this one, and their card is the top card of this packet, no matter what they do, this top card is always going to be the top card, all right? So when they smush them together like this, you can see that because this packet is bigger, it just goes right on top, all right? So they can really do this, and it feels very fair, and they just shuffled everything, but yet they retain the top card on there for you, all right? So that's very nice. Now you dramatize it even more by saying, you know what, maybe they still saw something. Maybe they were peeking through, I don't know, maybe they still saw something. So do me a favor, put the jacks in the box so they're totally blind, so they sort of have a blindfold and they can't see anything, all right? So what we'll do now is this. Let's just give these a quick mix just like this. Do me a favor, mix these around as well. Yeah, just go ahead and mix the cards around. Drop some on there, mix them around some more, drop some on, just so that nobody knows, not even the jacks, or me or you, could possibly know where your card is at this point. So what I've just done there is I picked the Rosetta Condition deck up like this, and I just took off the top card, which is their card, and I just sort of do with this. I just put cards in my hand like this and drop them. And I keep doing that like this. Just take cards off, mix them around like I just did there. And I said, go ahead and do that. Give them a good mix, all right? So they do this. Go ahead and drop some on, blah, blah, blah. And they're doing all this like this, all right? But that first part you did yourself. But they'll never remember that, all right? All they're going to remember is the fact that they smushed them in, and then they mixed them even more just like this in their own hands. So now they are totally convinced. They convinced themselves in their own head that their card is totally lost. I mean, how could you keep track of it after all that? Of course, the reason why you're doing this is because you need the card to be on the bottom of the deck, which is exactly where it is at this point, all right? So now look, you say, look, I'm going to square the cards up, but I don't want the jacks to maybe see what I'm doing. All right, so go ahead and just cover the jacks like this with your hands. All right, so that further dramatizes the condition of the jacks not knowing where the card is, as if it matters. All right, so you this is sort of a motif that you keep going back to, and it's sort of takes focus away from what you're doing technically with the method, and it puts all the focus on the jacks and finding the card, and then the jacks might being able to see what's going on. All right, so you really dramatize that factor in, so all their focus is on the jacks. All right, so rather than the controls, if that makes any sense. All right, so they're doing this as if it matters. All right, so you say, I don't want them to see what's going on because I need to square the cards, but I don't want them to see anything. All right, so now you just square these up. And normally, when you square a Rosetta up, you'll do this, all right? So one of these numbers, but you don't want to have them think that maybe you can see cards like this. So it sucks, but you really want to do it face down like this in your hands, all right? So it looks kind of awkward and weird, but just do it because it's better than maybe them thinking that you're seeing cards, all right? All right. So now the cards on the bottom, just like this. Now you say, okay, I think they're good. I think they're totally lost. I don't think they saw anything. I think we're good now. So go ahead and take them out. All right. So they take them out like this, and you say, look, take them face up and put them on top of the deck, face up just like this. Now have them cut the deck. Yeah, just cut anywhere. So the jacks are in the middle. All right. So they can really cut anywhere. They cut them in the middle of the deck. Now at this point, their selection is on top of the jacks. All right. So here's what we do now. Now, the reason why you're having them do all this stuff, with the Rosetta Shuffle, they smush them in, and then they hand them the Rosetta Shuffle to further mix the cards, and then they take the jacks, put them on top, cut the deck. The reason why you're doing all this is because the more they handle the cards, the stronger the effect will be, because they'll think back to it. But he didn't really do anything. I shuffled the deck, I cut the deck, I did everything, blah, blah, blah. So they'll think to themselves, how did that happen? He didn't do anything. It really takes the cause out of the effect when you seemingly hardly handle the cards and they do seemingly everything, all right? So now that we have the cards positioned where we need them to be, like I said, they're a card on top of the two jacks, what you do now is this. Now let's check this out. The fact that earlier you mentioned that the jacks always face each other with those their eyes like that. They always see what's going on in the deck with this gesture. You say, oh, wait a minute. Did you put them to where they're seeing each other? Now, what you're about to do is very, very important for the trick to happen in a method standpoint. But you're gonna make it seem like maybe you made a mistake or they forgot to do something. You want to make what you're about to do seem unimportant, all right? Even though it is very important, all right? So you say, oh wait, were the jacks facing each other? Because that's very important. So yeah, the jacks always have to face each other for this to work. And what you're gonna do is, my light keeps flickering, sorry about that. And what you're gonna do is, as you come to the jacks, you're just going to cull that card and load it in between the jacks, all right? So as you're spreading through, say, oh yeah, they have to face each other for this to work. So what you're gonna do is, as you get to here, you just cull that card under like this, and then spread one jack like this and sort of separate. Say, yep, yeah, they are facing each other. We're all good there. So this is what you're doing fully exposed. So when you come to this section of the deck right here, where their card is above the jacks, like I said, you just cull it under. This is the exposed view, and you separate the jacks apart like this. That card automatically goes underneath that first jack. So when you close back up, like this, that card is just loaded in between those jacks like this. But that whole sequence happens quick, as if you're just checking and confirming that they are indeed facing each other for this trick to work, all right? So again, you're just like this. Actually, we'll just go back to the beginning where they cut the deck. Now, so do me a favor, just cut the deck and say, all right, now check this out. The jacks are going to find your card. Oh wait, did you happen to put them in where they're facing each other? Yeah, we're good like this, all right? So yeah, we're good. So even though that little thing you just did is very important for the trick to work, in their mind, it's not important. You're not doing anything. You're just confirming to them that they're facing each other, all right? So as if it matters, all right? So that's why you want to create things you can go back to. Like in the beginning, the hook was that they always face each other. So if you can later do something to justify that for the trick to work, you have a great effect, all right? So now you have them put their hand over the deck and say, look, I want you to imagine, just for a minute, that those jacks are just moving around in the deck, sort of in circles, and at some point they're just going to stop and meet again back in the middle, and one card is going to be in between those jacks, and it's going to be your card, alright? So what I want you to do is imagine that going on, and as soon as it stops, as soon as you see that one card in between, I want you to lift your hand off the deck, alright? So they do that for maybe a couple of seconds, and then they lift them up. And the whole thing we're doing is creating an effect in their mind, and you're, like I said earlier, making them care, right? So they're going to care, and they have a great deal of concern and emotional attachment to what's about to happen, all right? So, they shuffle the cards. They are dead certain that the card is lost in the deck. They cut anywhere, and then you show the cards are facing each other with no card in between, so how could there be now? Because you did nothing, right? So now they're going to care very, very much, and it's all going to make sense to them and be very impactful for them when they see now that the card is actually in between those jacks. When you spread those cards out, and there's one card in between, it's a huge shocker, but the shocker that's really going to fry them is the fact that it's actually their card. Yeah, they get a diamonds there. Just so you can get a clear picture of the whole effect, what it's supposed to look like and sound like, I'll just demonstrate the trick for you right here. All right, so have you ever heard of the one-eyed jacks? You haven't heard of it. Well, check this out. In every deck, there's we have the Jack of Diamonds, but you can see both of his eyes, right? So there's two jacks in the deck that have only one eye, all right? So the Jack of Hearts and the Jack of Spades, all right? So the reason why they're called one-eyed jacks is, like I said, because they're facing each other, and you only see one of their eyes, all right? So they can always see what's going on in the deck, all right? So anything that happens in the deck, they always see what's happening, all right? So these two cards can always find any card in the deck, no matter how much it's shuffled back in, all right? So what we'll do is this. We'll leave those there, and I'll go and shuffle the deck, alright? So just get them all mixed up and confused there, alright? So perfect. What I'll do is I'll just drop cards like this, and as they fall, just say stop anytime so we get just a random card, alright? So go and do that. Stop anytime right there. Take a look at that card. Alright, I won't look. I'll just toss it back somewhere in the middle of the deck, right around there is fine, alright? So go and square those back up for me. Good, perfect. So you know what? Even though I don't know where it is, I think the Jacks actually saw your card, and they saw exactly where the card went in. So just so they can't see anything else, they like a good challenger, right? So let's go and turn these cards face down, all right? So let's mix it just a little bit more so they have no idea, all right? So what we'll do is this. We'll just give these a little spin, and what I want to do is just smush them in, just so that no card can be found in this random mess, just like this. All right. So, actually, you know what? I think they might have could still see something, because I mean they could maybe peek under. So do me a favor, just put the jacks inside the box so that they are totally blind and that nobody could possibly know where any cards are. All right, so we'll just give them some more mixes like this and mix them around. And in fact, you can mix them too. Just give them a good mix, and just so that nobody knows where they are. Keep dropping cards on there. Perfect. All right, so they're totally lost in the middle of the deck. All right, so in a minute, I'm going to square these cards up, but I don't want to think maybe that they could see something. So completely cover the cards, the jacks, so that nobody could see anything as I square these cards up. All right, so this is what we'll do here. Just square these cards up so everything is nice and neat for the jacks. All right, so I think they're ready. All right, so I think they might be ready to find the card. It might be a challenge. I don't know if it'll work or not, but I think they'll give it their best shot. All right, so go and take them out, and do me a favor and just put them face up on top. Yeah, just cut them in the middle anywhere you want. Perfect. All right, so oh, wait a minute. Did you happen to? Are they still facing each other? Because that's they need to face each other. All right, yeah, we're good. All right, so do me a favor. Put your hand on top of the deck, and what I want you to do is just imagine that those jacks are just going in circles around the whole deck, and at some point they're just going to stop and meet back in the middle of the deck where you cut, and one card is going to be in between those jacks face down, but not just any card. It's going to be your card that you just shuffled back in the deck like 3 or 4 times. All right, so as soon as you've imagined that is done, I want you to lift your hand off the deck. All right, so go ahead and do that. All right, right there. Now look, if there is actually one card in between the jacks, I will be shocked. But would you be shocked if it was your card? What was your card for the first time? The 10 of diamonds? Yeah, they always find the card. Alright guys, so as always, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me that you would sit down and spend time with me and learn these things that just in my brain. And so if you got value out of it, if you learned something new, do me a huge favor, hit that like button and sub to the channel because it helps me out more than you might think. Until next time, happy practicing. I love you guys.